Testing mic. Vamos a empezar. We're going to begin our recording, la grabación. Y muy buenos días y feliz lunes. Feliz lunes, ¿no? Feliz lunes. Espero que ustedes estén bien. I hope you guys are all well. This is our last session for spring session. So next week, do not expect a Zoom invitation because next week there are no classes. But we will start up the week after that, first full week of June. Wow, things are flying by. So I will definitely send that out when the time comes. Okay. Excelente. Hoy es un día de repaso, de practicar un poquito. Today is kind of a day of pulling some loose things together. We're going to do we're going to open with a little bit of free form talk about items, as we have been doing, because I think that's been really, really useful in getting people kind of warmed up to talk. Y perdón, wow, un momento más. I'm trying to get an extra picture. I thought I had a great picture and it turns out now I'm looking and it's not so great. So we're going to fix one of my items here. Es mejor. That is better. Okay. You know, you think you got the perfect item and then you look and it's like, ooh, that's not so visual as I thought it was. Okay. We're going to open up with a little warm-up session where you can just talk about which of the items is different. We're going to revisit and do just a little bit more with this whole issue of ser, estar. Boy, I know that is a real, isn't it a stinker? It is a stinker. Yeah. Only thing I can tell you is do not let it discourage you. We'll just try to do a little bit with it. I think really every session, one little revisit. Here's the sad fact of ser, estar. Ser, estar is so difficult for English speakers, is chronically across the board for everyone, even if you're experienced in other languages, that ser, estar is always the first topic of every single textbook in first year Spanish, second year Spanish, third year Spanish, fourth year Spanish, college Spanish, next college Spanish, next college Spanish, on and on. Every single, if you are in a grammar oriented course, every single text has some sort of review of ser and estar because it is so tough for us to get used to the patterns that occur with that. So we'll do a little bit more with that. And I want to review that Ciudad Más Bonita, our pretty city in Spain, just to show you some of how we use our present progressive tense and do some practice with that present progressive. If we have time, we'll fit in a couple other little storytelling things. We'll see how much time we wind up with. Okay. And of course, any questions you have, that's always good, siempre. Bueno, vamos a empezar con, voy a compartir las imágenes. I'm going to share the images and you'll see these in the breakout rooms. Yay! I'm going to add one little disclaimer here. That needs to be longer. Okay. Y la pregunta importante, the important question is, la pregunta importante es, ¿cuál es diferente en cada serie y por qué? Which one is different in the series and why? Y la línea A, estos son envases. These are containers of one kind or another. And a general word for container, although contenedor is like for the great big industrial things, right? Is envase. Envase just means a container of some kind. And envase can be anything from a soda bottle to a perfume bottle to a cargo container. Okay. So envase is a very all-encompassing, extremely general word, like container is a general word. Okay. Y tenemos aquí una caja, un cubo, un contenedor, un cajón. And when we change caja into cajón, cajón, that thing on the end makes whatever that item is bigger, sometimes uglier, but not always. I'll give you a quick example, and this isn't a very nice thing, but occasionally you hear people use the word mujerón. If we take the word mujer, woman, and tag on mujerón, it means a great big woman who's not really very attractive, you know, like the poor lady who's kind of built like a Mack truck, that kind of thing. Okay, mujerón. Not complimentary, not nice, not vulgar, but not complimentary. Yeah, okay. So we have una caja, un cubo, un contenedor, un cajón, un cajón. En la línea letra B tenemos un reloj, un despertador. Un despertador, an alarm clock. That's a little more specific than un reloj. ¿Sí? En la pared, on the wall. Un reloj. Y un reloj inteligente en la línea B. ¿Cuál es diferente y por qué? Y en la línea letra C tenemos tipos de comida. El yogur, el helado. It was kind of hard to find a good font color for that, but I think you can all tell that that's ice cream. El helado, el pastel de queso, cheesecake. And by the way, especially if you're in a place like Mexico, people will just say sometimes cheesecake, 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 and kind of anglicize it, but pastel de queso. So you get some disagreement about what they really should call that. Pastel de queso, cheesecake. Y la crema o la nata. Nata is a cream that you put like, well, you know, for beating. Yeah, la crema, la nata, the fluffed up kind, not the kind you put in your coffee. Okay, bien. Vamos a ver. You will see those pictures when you go into your smaller rooms. So talk a little bit with your partners about which one is different and why, y por qué. We'll come back and share your ideas. I think I need to give you maybe about 7 minutes, 7 minutos. ¿Es razonable, más o menos, sí?
Sí.
Okay. 5 might be a little short, but I think if we do 7, we're good to go.
So Marilyn, there's no difference between watch and clock. They don't have 2 different words for that.
Well, okay. Generally not. Generally, reloj is any kind of a timepiece. So it can be the kind that sits on your mantle. It can be the kind that you hang on a wall. It can be your wristwatch. Yeah. See, eso es. That would be the most. There is a longer term, but nobody uses. I mean, I don't hear anybody using it conversationally. So, you know, because it's too many words. So, okay. A ver, I am going to ideally try to get about 3 people per group. And you will see the pictures after you get into your little separate rooms. I'll make sure you hit your join button. And then after everybody hits join, I can send the picture in. We have it. Okay. It's time for me to look at me reloj inteligente. Time for me to look at my smartwatch so that I can do a timer on everybody. Tenemos en la línea A envases. We've got containers of different sorts. En la línea B tenemos cosas para ver la hora. Y en la línea C tenemos tipos de comida, productos lácteos, milk products, dairy products, productos lácteos. I may even put that in. Oh, hola. I need to try to get you into a group here. Momentito. There, we'll give you a group. Bueno, nos quedan 2 minutos. We've got about 2 minutes left. Okay. We're going to bring folks back in just a little bit here and see what kinds of differences they picked up on. Okay. Bien. A ver, aquí vienen todos. Here comes everybody. Fantástico. Vamos a ver muy pronto. We're going to see what kinds of ideas you shared. Now that we've got everybody back. Bien. Bueno, ¿qué creen ustedes? What do you guys think? Estos son difíciles. These are hard ones, ¿no?
Ay, sí.
Y son difíciles. ¿Cuál es, si hablamos de la línea A, if we talk about line A, okay? And now that I've got these pictures up again, I cannot see all of you. So if you raise your hand, I won't see it. I need somebody to volunteer. Just pipe up, please. ¿Cuál es diferente de la línea A? Which one is different? ¿Y por qué? And why?
Un contenedor es diferente porque I have a question. ¿Porque es muy grande o porque más grande?
Porque es muy grande, porque es más grande, because it is bigger. Oh, porque aún mejor, even better, Juanita, es el más grande.
Es el.
Okay,
Es
so
el
if I
envase.
say, what if I say like this? Un contenedor es diferente porque es más grande que los otros tres.
Sí. Los otros tres or los demás. Here's a good word for you to pick up. Los demás. And we take de and más and put them together. Los demás means the rest of them.
Oh.
The rest of them is one word in Spanish, or well, actually two. Los demás. Los demás. Es el más grande de los demás. It is perfectly okay to say es más grande que los otros tres. That's perfectly okay. Sí.
But muy grande is wrong.
No, es muy grande. No, es muy grande.
Okay.
Es diferente porque es muy grande. It's different because it's really big. ¿Sí?
Okay.
Es grandísimo. El contenedor es grandísimo. It's really huge, right? A really nice way to magnify, because un contenedor, a cargo container is of the magnitude, it merits that ísimo suffix, grandísimo. We take the E off the grande, grandísimo. It's huge. Es enorme. Ok, vale. Otras ideas.
Un cubo es hecho de plástico.
Ah, está hecho de plástico. Sí, es de plástico. Sí, es diferente porque es de plástico. Bien, me gusta. Gracias, Tomás. Algo distinto.
Un
Something
cubo no usa para el transporte.
Perdón, no se usa para qué? We don't use it for what?
Para el transporte.
Ah, para el transporte. Muy bien, sí, Hillary. Un cubo, por lo generalmente no se usa para el transporte. Un cajón de madera, sí. Las cajas cuando nos mudamos a otra casa, sí. Un contenedor, obviamente. Muy bien, bien hecho. Well done. Otras ideas.
Algunos contenedores son grandes y pesados.
Y pesados, there. Oh, pesados, heavy.
Sí.
Pesados, sí. Bien. Ok, excelente. Otra idea.
Uso un cubo en mi casa, pero no uso un contenedor en mi casa.
Obviamente, sí. Espero que no. I hope not. Espero que no.
¿Por qué, Diane?
Porque es casa es
¿Por qué no
pequeña.
tienes contenedor en tu casa? ¿Por qué no tienes contenedor? Bien, sí. Okay, I'm going to give you one more little bit of vocabulary here. Una pista de vocabulario. There is a really specific word used in Spanish to talk about cardboard. And sometimes we talk about that. If you want to talk about a cardboard box, y voy a cambiar esto.
Cartón.
Una caja de cartón. Okay, bien. There is a really specific word for cardboard, and that specific word is cartón. And it sounds like it should be cardboard, sort of, yeah?
Yeah.
A carton. We have a carton of milk. Yeah, we use that word, but we pronounce it carton. And it indicates something in a boxy kind of shape, the English word carton. The word cartón in Spanish means cardboard. Okay, the material that we know as cardboard. So if you say caja de cartón, it means a cardboard box, not a wooden box, not a plastic box, not a metal box. Una caja de cartón. Bien, okay. Otras ideas de A o no? You guys came up with really great things for A. La línea B, el reloj. And by the way you use wristwatch would maybe be un reloj de pulsera. Pulsera is a bracelet, but nobody says reloj de pulsera so much, you know, because it takes too long to say. I think that's the reason. Well, you know, in the old days, right, in the days of our grandfathers and great grandfathers, you know, people would have a watch that you would wear on a pin. They'd have a pocket watch that you would attach with a fob, right? And nobody used, wristwatch was the smartwatch of its day because people said, how great, you can just strap it on your arm. But not many people use that long term, un reloj de pulsera. So tenemos aquí en la línea B, un reloj, un despertador, an alarm clock. That is a term that is used a lot. Un reloj así en la muñeca on your wrist. Sí, un reloj inteligente. ¿Cuál es diferente? Alguien, somebody.
Un reloj inteligente. Es diferente.
Sí,
un reloj. I will try this. Un reloj inteligente es diferente porque se puede usar para muchas cosas. No solo para mirar el tiempo.
Ah, no solamente para mirar la hora. No
La hora,
solamente para mirar la hora. Exactamente. Sí. Se usa un reloj inteligente, se usa para muchísimas cosas, no solamente para mirar o para ver la hora. Exacto. Bien. Otra idea.
Un reloj inteligente es más cara que demás.
Ah, un reloj inteligente es mucho más caro. Es mucho más caro. Exacto. Que los demás, than the others. Ok. Bien.
El
Es-
reloj a la izquierda no tiene una alarma.
Ah, bien. Sí. No tiene despertador. Bien. Sí. Ah, excelente. ¿Qué más?
No uso un despertador. Despertador.
Despertador.
Porque mi reloj inteligente tiene una alarma.
Ah, bien, sí, eso, sí,
Una
eso
alarma.
es. Ah, ok. Bueno, otra idea, another idea.
El reloj de pared es no digital.
Sí, no es digital. Sí, no es digital. O el reloj a la izquierda, the one way on the left, sí. El primer reloj de la serie, sí, no es digital como los otros, sí. Bueno, exacto. Otra idea.
Un despertador está encima una mesa, pero un reloj está sobre o encima la muñeca.
Está en la muñeca, en la muñeca. En la muñeca, sí, eso es, muy bien, ¿sí? Bueno, fantástico, buenas ideas. ¿Hay más de la línea B? Anything else from line B?
Chris, you can say your idea. I think it can be done too.
Me, okay, I know. It's hard for me to speak up sometimes. Un reloj a la izquierda está en la pared.
Está en la pared, it's on the wall. Es el único reloj que está en la pared. Exacto, muy bien. Look at how many differences you guys found in for línea B. Excelente.
What was that word, muñeca? I thought that was a doll.
Muñeca does mean doll, but it also means wrist.
Oh,
Very
okay.
confused by that.
Yes, probably for the same reason that words like bow confuse people. A bow can be something you put in your hair. A bow can be something you use if you play a violin. A bow or a bow, spelled the same way but pronounced differently. Bow is doing that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
are there
Okay. We
two-
have lots
are
of
there
words in
two-
English that do that.
Are there two words for wrist then? Is it manuka and
Muñeca,
posar?
yeah, well, muñeca is one word, but it has two different meanings that are not related at all. Muñeca can mean this part of your body, the wrist, okay?
Okay,
And muñeca can also mean a doll, a plaything, a
Okay.
girl's plaything.
and then what is pusara?
Pulsera just means a bracelet.
Okay,
So reloj de pulsera means a watch that you wear as a bracelet, meaning around your arm.
okay.
Eso es, ¿sí? As if it were a piece of jewelry. Okay. Como si fuera así una joya. Bien. Ok. Línea C, productos lácteos. Oh, dairy products. Productos lácteos. ¿Cuál es diferente?
La crema no tiene frutas.
Ok. Bien. ¿Qué
El
más?
yogur es más saludable que los demás.
El yogur es más saludable que los demás. Sí, sí.
Oh. Soledad, ¿no?
I said, and I had a little pushback from my teammates here, but la crema, no como la crema solo.
No como la crema solo. Bien, 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 bien. Sí, sí, sí. Hay que poner la crema en un pastel, en un postre, on a dessert. Sí, eso es, sí, entiendo. Tiene sentido. That makes sense. It makes sense. Tiene sentido. Bien.
El helado es más frío de los demás.
Sí. Cero estar. El helado es frío porque siempre es frío. Ice cream, to be ice cream, has to be cold, ¿no? Sí. Sí, es más frío que los otros productos. Sí, razón, sí.
Unless it's
Congelado,
melted.
frozen.
If it's
Exact-
melted, it's not cold.
Yeah, sí.
How did you
Eso
say
es.
frozen? I couldn't find frozen anywhere.
Yeah,
How did you say-
but you know, and there is one thing, you know, if I were talking about ice cream compared to the others, you might hear people flipping back and forth a little between ser and estar. If people were
melt.
saying it is frozen, está congelado, it is in a frozen state, you might hear people flipping back and forth, and be comfortable with that. That is okay. Bien, let's take this opportunity to talk a little bit more about ser and estar, and see some other examples and ponder some other things. It is a troublesome thing, ser and estar. It truly is. So if you feel it is troublesome, congratulations, you're so normal. Yeah, but the key is that you know, you may hear people kind of doing something that you think is a flippy flop, but it isn't really necessarily a flippy flop, because you know, people will use the verb that they feel conveys an idea more. But there are certain things that are definitely right or definitely wrong with ser estar. Okay. Here are two, and I am looking here at this little set of slides I sent you. Here are three things. Well, no, you know what? I can't really, let's take all of those in blue. Those are non-negotiables, people. They really, really, really are non-negotiable. Well, so is that bottom one that's not in blue, but yeah, these are non-negotiable. So here is something I hear people using, even when they've taken a bunch of Spanish classes. When people talk about occupations, it sounds, this is something I have to tell you, it sounds glaringly, it's a great big flashing red light to a native speaker. If they listen to you and you say something like, mi esposo es ingeniero, I'm saying what makes sense. Mi esposo está ingeniero. I hear a lot of people using estar with professions. You can never, 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 never. That is so non-negotiable. It is a great big flashing light. It is so non-negotiable. When I started to say the example, I automatically went into mi esposo es ingeniero, because that is the only way to say it. And it costs me a lot to think of the wrong way. But you hear a lot of people using está with a profession, and you can't do that. That is a real non-negotiable, and it will sound so glaringly wrong. It's a big blinking red light to a native speaker. It make that like automatically makes them do a huh when they're listening to you. Always occupation, always, always, always occupation. We need to use ser. That's not negotiable. Okay. Los hombres son ingenieros. Even if the profession is something like housewife, housewife is ama de casa. Ama de casa means kind of overlord of the house, which is what a housewife is, okay? Mi mamá es ama de casa. My mom is a housewife. It's still es, okay? All these things are identifiers. Occupations are still what we would classify as identifying. Anytime we use a word to identify who or what somebody is, whether it's their occupation, whether it's their relationship to us, you know, somebody is my friend, is my neighbor. All those things identify somebody. They identify. They don't describe. They identify. Okay. All of those things are really, really non-negotiable. Whenever you say where somebody is from where they originate from, we have to use ser. Okay. And if you try to use estar with that, you know, it's not good enough to say with Spanish, oh, we'll use origin. Oh, it's a location. No, 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 it's not. Okay. We use estar with location. We do not use estar with origin, where somebody is from. We have to use ser with where somebody is from. Again, these ideas of like what material is made out of, right? Es de metal, it's made out of metal. When we tell something to whom something belongs, okay, that thing where we use apostrophe S in English, we need the de. All right. When you say, oh, this is somebody's umbrella, it is somebody's cat, it's somebody's dog, we need to use es de or son de, whichever is appropriate, right? And of course, the whole telling time thing. The telling time thing, most people don't get wrong. Okay. Here's one of those things that people sometimes get wrong. That's, you know, religious affiliation we think of as being very, very fluid, and you can change. Well, you could change that. Well, you could, but it is an identifier. It identifies you as being a member of a group. Hence, it is a relationship word. So we use ser with religious affiliations and with economic status. I know you could be rich today and bust tomorrow. We hope not. But with the word rich and poor, if we're talking about economic status, we use ser. We just do. And that used to be, I think that this is a presumption. I am pretty sure it is because long, long, long ago, when the language originated, you know, you were born rich and you were born poor, and that didn't change, people. What you were born into, you were stuck with for the rest of your life, be it good or be it awful. So, you know, now you will use estar with rico, but then it changes the meaning of rico. Okay. religious stuff, and rich, poor, economic status. We use ser. We use ser for all of these things. Okay. Oh, and that explained all of that. So you can read that. All right. So our problem really becomes when we get into this realm of using, do I use ser or do I use estar? Because now I'm going to describe something. Because some descriptions do use the verb ser, and some descriptions do use the verb estar. And there is where we get into sticky territory. Okay. So these things here are not sticky territory. They are not kind of iffy. It can go one way or the other, right? Identifying, telling relationships, telling where somebody's from, telling occupations or professions, telling what something is made out of, whether that is cardboard or plastic or metal or glass. Okay, telling time, all those things, they're really non-negotiable. Those are said. Where we get into this sticky, funny territory is descriptions. So physical characteristics that somebody is born with, we use ser. Okay, eres alto, eres rubio, eres delgado, physical characteristics that are hard to alter without an awful lot of work or an awful lot of time. So the 15-year-old, you say, well, what if I dye my hair blue tomorrow? Because they frequently did. Okay, but whatever hair color you were born with, that's what you naturally, that's what you've got. We use ser. Okay. Also, descriptions that talk about personality traits. Okay. And when I say personality traits, that means the way you usually act, the way you customarily, day in, day out, most of the time, the way you are, those use ser. Okay. So ser dominates these kind of categories. Ser takes over, right, with physical characteristics you're born with, personality traits, the way you usually act most of the time. Okay. Estar is used for a state. Think of the word state because we can trace our English word state back to this Latin root of estar. Okay. Estar is a condition. It's not connected necessarily. It is not connected. Well, I'm going to just say that it's not connected with what that thing is. Okay. Estar is used to talk about things that are relative, subjective, easily changeable, changeable with time, changeable with conditions. Okay, so this is where we get in trouble. If I talk about la sopa, soup, mi hijo no come la sopa y ahora está fría. My kid's not eating a soup and now it's cold. All right. This state of cold is very changeable because it is a temperature that alters very, very easily when we're talking about that thing called la sopa, soup. Okay. Temperature can change. El jefe está ocupado. Tiene mucho trabajo. The boss is busy. Está ocupado. He is occupied. He is busy. He is wrapped up in doing something. This is a mental state, really. And somebody isn't always busy. It indicates that he has things to do now, but that's not always the way it is. La niña está contenta porque tiene un helado. Oh, the kid is happy because she has an ice cream. She is happy. She feels happy. If you can plug in the idea of feels happy, you need estar. Okay. Estamos enfermos con la gripe. We are sick with the flu. Sick is a relative thing. You may be sick for a long time, for a while, for a week, for a few days, for a few hours. It is changeable. El cielo está nublado. The sky is clouded up, is cloudy. That is, again, a weather thing and therefore highly changeable. So any description that talks about how you feel emotionally, how you feel physically, something that is easy to alter, that will use estar. Okay. Fantástico. Let's look at some words that are descriptions, which might have or do have a pretty substantial alteration in what the meaning of that word is. Using ser or using estar actually changes the definition of that word. The exact nuance of that word changes if I use ser or if I use estar. Okay. The word verde, es verde, means it's green in color, and that is the way it just looks. Okay. It always looks green. The color is green. That green is not going to change easily. Okay. But if I use verde with estar, it means ripe. Or, well, unripe in that case, right? The word maduro, es una persona madura. He or she is a mature person, but está maduro, again, it is ripe, okay? As opposed to the green, I should really have an unripe there. Perdón, unripe. Okay. Bien. Listo. With ser, it means very, very clever, smart, sharp, quick thinking, okay? But estar, listo means ready, okay? A really important one. Es aburrido, it is boring, okay? It is something that does not hold your attention. You could say, woo, por ejemplo, if you don't like a certain reality show, housewives of whatever, put which housewives? Housewives of Atlanta, housewives of Los Angeles, whichever, pick one of those reality shows. If you don't like it, see, Housewives of Atlanta es un programa muy aburrido. It's a boring program. Okay. Estoy aburrida. I am bored. I feel that way. How you feel or where you are, we always use that verb estar. So aburrido really changes to bored if we use estar.
Aburrido.
Aburrido. Yeah? Aburrido is boring with ser. It is bored with estar, right? Rico, here's one that you hear a lot because we hear the word rico to talk about how much money somebody makes. And we also use rico a lot, probably even more, way more, to talk about food. And when we use rico to talk about something tasting delicious, and again, it's kind of like we can relate it to if you feel bored. Okay, it's how you feel. Well, how you feel about the taste of something. If it tastes delicious, you'll hear people say, está rico, está rico. Está rico does not mean somebody makes a lot of money. It means a thing is very delicious. It's yummy. It tastes good. Okay, so if the description relates to health or emotions, it uses estar. So otherwise, it's something chronic. Let me give you chronic. Ooh, let me give you chronic a little bit here. Es enfermo. Es enfermo would plug in the idea, give your listener the idea that that person is always chronically sick. It would say he is sickly. He's always that way. He's never well. Es enfermo. Okay. So, yeah, but most of the time when we're talking about somebody who is sick, we don't mean that they're sickly. This is they have a weak constitution. They're immunocompromised. Usually when we use está enfermo, what we mean, he or she is sick. Okay. Temporarily, well, okay, maybe for a while, but it will change at some point. So sometimes we can use ser and estar with that same description, enfermo, but it will change. It will change the nuance of that idea you're communicating pretty substantially. Okay. All right. I'm going to show you one other thing, which is kind of a conundrum, and I'm going to ask you to just accept this as is. Está muerto. Dead is a description. Yeah. Está muerto means.
But it's not changing.
It's not changing, and that's why I want to bring this up. If somebody means he is dead or it is dead, oh, somebody ran over a dog or a cat, God forbid, but it happens. So, okay. And you want to say it's dead. It's está muerto. I know it ain't changing once it's dead. It's dead. But dead is considered a state, accepted as fact. It's one of those things. It's a blanket. It's a non-negotiable, okay? Está muerto. You occasionally, but very, very infrequently may, and you won't hear it, you'll read it. Son muertos, they are dead people. Well, like if somebody was pointing to a row of dead bodies, God forbid, son muertos, they are dead people, not live people. But then you're talking about those people. Those bodies are dead people. Usually, most of the time, when we use muerto or vivo, alive, we use estar. Dead and alive are considered states. Okay. It is just kind of the way it is. So we've got a whole bunch of things to show you here about how ser and estar can be used with things. Lola es delgada. Lola is thin. That is the way you will usually hear that. But Lola está delgada. She is thin, meaning she has grown thin. She looks thin, where we would plug in the idea of she looks that way, meaning, ooh, this signals it's something that has changed about her. Está delgada. Wow, she looks thin. She must have gone on a diet. It signals a change. So even though most of the time a textbook will tell you the only correct way to say that is Lola es delgada, and that's correct. Thin is considered a hard to alter state. It takes time, quite a lot of it, right? But you will hear people in conversation saying somebody hasn't seen their friend in months and they want to compliment them Estás muy delgada. Wow, you look really thin. It signals a change. So know that that can happen. If you look at the two examples below that, Mario es nervioso, Mario está nervioso. Mario es nervioso is the example you do not hear a lot. It means he is a nervous person. He's just always on edge. It means his personality is like that razor's edge kind of guy. Man, stay away from him. One touch and poof, off the deep end. Es nervioso. He is a bundle of nerves. That's what that means. Mario es nervioso. He is a bundle of nerves. He's always on the edge. You just never know what's going to set him off, right? The way we usually hear this is the way that he feels nervous. Mario está nervioso. That's the way you hear it more. Okay, so this thing with descriptions on ser, estar, you know, okay, you might hear a description used one way or the other, but it changes the basic idea of that description from something that's a part of their personality or a part of their physical being to, ooh, here's a change. Something that's not always that way. Okay. Let's look at the third example down here. Esos profesores son aburridos. Those professors are boring. They are yawners. 100% of the time, they are yawners. Okay. Nobody wants to listen to them, but los profesores están aburridos. It's how they feel. They are bored is how they feel. Okay. Bien. Listo is a very classical thing of it can go definitely either way. This word listo, you hear a lot with either ser or estar, but it changes the actual literal meaning of that word listo quite a bit. Es listo, he's clever, he's smart. Está listo, he's ready. Okay. And even that word viejo or vieja in this example, viejo is old, and generally when we say old or young, we use ser most of the time. Most of the time, la actriz es vieja. See, Meryl Streep es vieja because she's an older lady now. Bien, see, Joe Biden es viejo. He's an old guy. I mean, that's just their age. They're not getting any younger. Okay. And most of the time we use joven, young, or viejo with ser most of the time. But again, if somebody looks a certain way because of something special they did with their hair, with their makeup, with their clothing, you will hear people saying to friends or gossiping about people, la actriz está vieja, meaning she looks old. So ser, estar can go through those kinds of changes. And we have some other examples down there for you to check out at your leisure. See, bien? Okay.
Bien.
The only way really is to see lots and lots of examples, but there are some things that will help to keep this in mind. I'm going to show you a few more things here, and I'll send you this list, so don't feel you've got to copy this down. We'll do a little practice together with this. I will send you the whole link for this. Some adjectives, you're just going to hear them with ser all the time. All the time. And these are kind of, these are given. You know, they are description words because they're adjectives. And these are ones you're really only going to hear these with ser. Importante. All right. Some adjectives in Spanish work only with ser, and using them with estar would sound unnatural. So keep these in mind. importante, común, suficiente, inteligente, famoso, capaz, capable, único, unique, simpático, posible. You're going to hear those with ser. You just are. All right. It's just considered logical that if somebody is capable, they're just that way. They're not going to suddenly become some inept, blubbering guy with 5 thumbs. That's not going to happen. Yeah. Capaz, capable. You either can do it or you can't. It's not relative. Okay. Somebody is either famous or they're not. I know. Wow. Can somebody be famous and not anymore? Well, yeah, but we use ser with famoso. We just do. So you just have to get used to that. Somebody doesn't start out being smart and suddenly become dumb. Inteligente just doesn't change. You're either smart or you're not. So you may have different kinds of intelligence, but, we use ser. So these kinds of descriptions, people just always use ser with these. Ooh, let's get our X out of that. Yeah. So these will be things that'll just help you. So kind of check them out. And as you see the examples, you'll get more comfortable with it. A lot of adjectives are really like 99% of the time, or even 100% of the time, you're going to use them with, these with estar. Contento, generally, most of the time, yeah, you're going to use it with estar because it describes how you feel. Escondido, hidden. Bien and mal, those are really, really given. Bien, well, has to be used with estar. Mal, wrong or badly. Yeah, mal has different, we kind of use it in different situations. We use them with those 2 words with estar, right? Satisfied. Well, it's how you feel. Preocupado, worried. It's a way you feel. Asustado, it's a way you feel. Enfermo, really most of the time. Enojado. Angry, it's how you feel. Okay. And then they'll give you this list again. So, I'll leave that for you to check out again and just look at the examples again. There are a lot of these adjectives that can flippy flop. Let's see if you can tell the difference. Let's do a little bit of practice. La pizza de ayer, yesterday's pizza. And you know what? We're going to take out the de ayer because we don't really want to practice past tense. La pizza. We want to say the pizza is very tasty instead of it was very tasty. We're going to say it is very tasty.
Está.
Está. We're talking about tasty. It's a perception. It's a relative, subjective thing. To say something is tasty. So, está muy rica. See, este documento, wow, this document is very important.
Es.
Important is, you're always going to hear it with ser. Este documento es importante. You want to ask somebody, are you ready for tomorrow's race?
Estás.
¿Estás listo? Are you ready? ¿Estás listo para la carrera de mañana? ¿Estás listo? Are you ready? Okay. Oh, your mom is really worried.
Está.
Está. Tu mamá está muy preocupada. Your mom is really worried, right? Oh, I am so bored.
Estoy.
Estoy ocupado. Estoy ocupado. Estoy aburrido. Estoy aburrido, perdón. Okay. Cases like this are very common. Los casos así
Es muy común.
son muy comunes. Common uses ser. Always. It just does. It's not possible to get tickets.
No es.
No
Es.
No está.
es.
No es
No
posible.
No es posible conseguir boletos. No es posible, right? No es posible. No es imposible. No es importante. These kinds of descriptions use ser. Okay, it's kind of just stating a fact. I'm too heavy.
Estoy.
Estoy.
Estoy. Carlos,
Estoy.
oh, here's a big, we're gonna talk about this one for just a little bit longer. Carlos is good.
Es bueno.
Es
Es bueno.
As bueno. Let's stop with this a little bit because I'm gonna
Bueno.
give you a caution light here. Don't we often think that sometimes people are good and sometimes they're bad and that changes?
Sí.
Watch out. When we use the word bueno, bueno in particular, using ser with bueno means that is a good person. Carlos es bueno. Mi esposo es bueno. Mis perros son buenos. My dogs are good. But when we use bueno to talk about people, if you mean they're a good person, it's got to be ser. There's something very specific about that word bueno in conversational Spanish. If somebody says, por ejemplo, Tom Hanks es buena persona. Tom Hanks is a good person. He's a good-hearted person, human being. Tom Hanks es buena persona. Buena persona, good person. Tom Hanks es bueno. He's good, meaning he's a good human being. If we say somebody is está bueno or está buena, you're saying they are sexy looking.
Oh.
Yes. And conversationally, that is common when you got the 20 or 30 years, well, really, whatever age. You want to say somebody is looking good, wink, wink. Wow. Wow. I could go after that person. Yeah. Okay. Por ejemplo, Penelope Cruz está buena. She's looking sexy. Using estar with bueno or estar with buena changes that to the idea of sexy, good looking, attractive, physically attractive, which is very different from saying somebody is a good person. Yeah. So conversationally, you'll hear people, saying, woo, Mateo está bueno. Wow, Matt, he is like hot looking. He is attractive.
Muy importante.
Muy importante. Grab him now because someone else will. Be aware of that, because if you say somebody está bueno, you're saying they're physically attractive.
Ajá.
What if you want to say Carlos feels well? Would that be Carlos está bueno?
No. Oh, Carlos está bien. Está bien.
Está
Yes.
bien.
For physically how somebody feels, we cannot use bueno. We need to use bien.
Bien.
Estoy bien. Estoy bien, estoy mal. We use estar with bien, we use estar with mal. We never say soy bien, soy mal. Estoy mal. I feel badly. I don't feel well. Yeah. Estar with bien, estar with mal. Okay. So watch out with está bueno, because conversation, you'll hear it, but they mean that person looking hot, baby. Okay. Ooh, her parents are proud of her.
Done.
Done.
It's done.
Done.
Están, sus padres están orgullosos de ella. Her parents aren't proud. Could we substitute in the idea of her parents feel proud and get across that same idea? Therefore, it is estar. It's how they feel. Okay. It is grammatically correct, or it could be grammatically correct to say, los padres son orgullosos. But then it would mean the parents are prideful, meaning they are full of themselves.
Oh,
Their personality is such that they are kind of stuck on themselves. So, Jose es orgulloso implies that Jose is
prideful.
really, he is full of himself.
Oh.
He is full of pride. He is prideful. And we don't say that a description in English very much, do we? He's prideful.
No.
We might say he's stuck up. He's full of himself. He thinks a lot of himself. Es orgulloso. Meaning the way he always feels that like there's nothing I can do that is possibly wrong. That's the way Mateo thinks of himself. I am just so great. I'm just always wonderful. Es orgulloso. He is full of himself, right? But the way, if he feels proud, because he taught his pet to roll over, he feels proud because he bought a new truck and he loves it. It's how he feels. And then it's está orgulloso. Está orgulloso is considered an, oh, isn't that nice? He feels proud. Es orgulloso is not such an endearing trait. Somebody is so full of themselves that they just think they're always great. Ser en estar, okay? Bien. I will send you that page so you can ponder that a little more. The only way to get really used to it is to hear more and more and more examples of it, quite honestly. And when you get used to this is the natural thing, it will little by little, it does get better, but it may take a while. And it may get better. You may feel like I'm good at this 60 or 70% of the time. That's pretty darn good. You know, once you get to 80 or 90%, that means you got most of it. Okay. We're going to take a look at, ooh, I want to really switch gears here. I need to change my screen. This whole thing, and I want to show you a little example from our video of last week, because he had lots of little examples and maybe you picked up on it and maybe you didn't. But we want to talk a little bit about another time when we use estar, this thing called Presente Progresivo. And it is super easy to use, but it has an extremely meaning that is much more specific in Spanish than it is in English. In Spanish, it means something very specific about when the action is happening, to use present progressive. In English, it waffles around a lot, but this is an example where you cannot use ser. Okay? Present progressive. Oh, what is present progressive in English? Present progressive in English is, I am talking to you right now. We are working on present progressive. Oh, they're not singing now. They will be singing they will be singing tonight, but they're not singing now. Wow, people are driving down the street. There are a lot of people. They're all driving down the street. Are doing something, is doing something. I am doing something. I am talking to you. Okay, so present progressive in English uses am, is, are, and an ing word. Okay. In Spanish, present progressive indicates the action is taking place right now as we are speaking, and that is much more specific than it is in English. There is no implied future. I might tell you I'm hiking in the evening. Are we anything close to evening? No. So when I say in English, I'm hiking tonight, it's kind of an implied future. Yeah. I can't take that structure of I'm hiking tonight and use present progressive in Spanish to convey that idea. I can't do that. I can't. To use it in Spanish, it has to be happening now. So, estoy manejando a la oficina. I am driving to the office, meaning I'm doing it right now. Right? In English, you might say, I'm driving to work and plug in a different time. Like in English, you can plug in, I'm driving to work in an hour. I'm driving to work tomorrow. In Spanish, you can't do that am doing and plug in present progressive. If you say in an hour or next week, you can't do it. But here's how we use it. How you use it is English. It is easy. It's a 2-word combo. It's estar and a present participle. So estar is okay, easy. Estoy for yo, estás for tú, está for he or she or usted, right? It falls in that category. Estamos for we, están for they are. And we pair it up with an ing word. And the ing word is going to be ando. If it's an AR verb, it's going to be yendo if it's an ER or an IR verb. So the only thing that changes in this formula is the form of estar. The form of estar might be estoy or estás or está or estamos or están. That changes. This ando or yendo thing, the essentially ing part of the structure, does not change. It is always the same. So, ando, estudiar becomes estudiando, hablar becomes hablando, tomar becomes tomando, viajar becomes viajando, escuchar becomes escuchando, pagar becomes pagando.
Can I
Okay?
ask you a quick question?
Sí,
Marilyn?
sí, sí, claro.
In Duolingo, a lot of times there will be a question like he pays the check, and it's translated in he is paying the check instead of just like paga la cuenta.
Paga la cuenta. Yes.
And that could either be pay the check or is paying the check.
Yes.
So what's
Okay.
more common?
Let's take a look at that. Pagar is a nice regular verb, and paga, the present tense, not the present progressive, just paga.
Right.
Right? The one word, paga.
Paga.
It could be translated into the English idea of pays, like he always pays the check. Right? He always pays the check. When we go to eat, he always pays the check. Paga la cuenta. It can mean, oh, he does pay the check, does pay. Paga can mean pays. It can mean does pay. It can mean is paying. It can mean is paying. Like, paga la cuenta esta semana. He's paying the check this week.
Okay.
Okay. Paga la cuenta esta semana. He's paying the check this week. All right. But does that mean he's really doing it now? Está pagando. Está pagando la cuenta means he's doing it now while I'm talking to you about it.
Okay.
It's specific. It's that specific. Okay. Let's take a look at the yendo words, and then we're going to look at our little video because he had some really specific things that I want to point out to you. So ER and IR verbs, instead of using ando for ing, they'll use yendo. So Comer becomes comiendo. Okay, but that comiendo never changes into a form with an S or a mos or something else tagged onto the end of it. It's only comiendo. All right. Vivir becomes viviendo. Okay. Escribir becomes escribiendo. Vender becomes vendiendo. Correr becomes corriendo. Hacer becomes
Corriendo.
haciendo. Right. If somebody calls you on the phone and they ask, ¿qué estás haciendo? What are you doing? They mean, what are you doing right now at this exact minute? Okay. ¿Qué estás haciendo? Hey, what you doing now? It plugs in the idea of right now. And that's what that present participle does. Okay, so here's what I want to show you, because this is much more specific in Spanish than it is in terms of the timeline. In terms of the timeline. Okay, a ver. We're going to take a look at the examples that he showed us here. Can everybody see our gentleman here? See?
Yep.
I'm going to go forward a little bit. And he talks about la ciudad más bonita de España, the prettiest. And by the way, this is where he grew up. That's why he thinks it's the prettiest.
Es que hay muchas cuestas, hay muchas cuestas. ¿Sabéis qué es una cuesta?
Cuesta is a slope, an uphill stretch. Yeah. There are many possible ways you can interpret the word cuestas. It could be a verb. In this case, it's a noun, right? The context is key. Okay, let's let him roll.
Una cuesta es eso. Eso es una cuesta. Esta calle, ¿veis aquella calle allí? ¿Veis aquella calle por donde está bajando la moto? Hay una moto.
Por donde está bajando la moto. Is that happening right now as he's talking?
Sí.
That's why he says, está bajando la moto. The motorcycle is coming down right now while I'm talking to you. That's why he says, he phrases this idea of aquella calle por donde, where, está bajando la moto. The motorcycle is coming down.
Que está bajando y hay unos turistas que están cruzando.
Hay unos turistas que están cruzando. There are some tourists who are
Crossing the
street while we're talking to you. Present progressive is really specific. It really honestly means in real time. So think of está bajando, está cruzando. It's in real time, folks.
¿Vale? ¿Veis los turistas que están cruzando en este momento?
Oh, and look, están cruzando, but cruzando is the same. It's están cruzando. They are crossing. En este momento, at this minute, at this moment.
Pues aquella calle que sube hacia arriba es una cuesta. Es una cuesta es una calle, un camino que va hacia arriba, ¿vale? Cuesta arriba, cuesta arriba. Y en esta ciudad hay muchas cuestas, ¿vale? Puedes ir en taxi. Aquí hay una parada de taxis.
You can go in a taxi.
¿Vale? Aquí hay una parada de taxis, aquí normal.
There's a taxi stop here, yeah. Taxi stand.
Mira. Acaba de pasar un taxi. Bueno.
A taxi has just passed by.
Puedes ir en taxi, puedes ir en autobús, fijaos. Hay unos autobuses así pequeñitos, ¿vale? Porque las calles en esta ciudad son muy estrechas.
Streets are really narrow, estrechas, right?
Entonces, es mejor ir en estos autobuses así pequeñitos, ¿no? ¿Vale? Pasan mejor por las calles estrechas. Y hay trenes, hay estos trenes turísticos también que se pueden usar para visitar la ciudad y para subir las cuestas, Pero A mí me gusta, también puedes ir en bicicleta, ¿eh? También puedes ir en bicicleta, fijaos, ¿eh? Puedes ir como quieras, pero yo prefiero ir a pie. Yo prefiero
prefiero ir a pie. I prefer to go on foot. I prefer to go walking. Prefiero
caminar.
caminar.
Yo prefiero ir andando a
prefiero ir andando. I prefer to go walking.
todas partes. Entonces, si os parece bien, vais a ver. Ahora está subiendo un motocarro,
Está subiendo un motocarro. Está subiendo. It's going
up the hill,
going up.
motocarros hacen mucho ruido.
But now look, motor cars make a lot of noise in general, plain old present tense. Yeah, because they all do that all the time. So when we talk about a general habit, plain old present tense.
Arriba de la cuesta vais a ver por qué vale la pena venir a esta ciudad. ¿De acuerdo? Bueno, venga, vamos a.
Okay, so I'm gonna. What I wanted you to notice was that I wanted to be really specific with that video. When we talk about it in real time as it's going on, that's when we use this present progressive tense. That is the reason for using that. So, whereas we use present progressive tense in English to talk about what's going on right now, or maybe soon, you can't do the maybe soon in Spanish using that structure. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So it is really, really common. Es muy común decir, por ejemplo, ¿qué estás haciendo? What are you doing? And when somebody asks you that, they really do mean, hey, right now, what do you happen to be doing? What's going on? That's a usual thing. Okay. That is a normal thing. Okay. ¿Tiene sentido? Make sense?
Sí.
So kind of a cautionary thing with that. There are some times when we cannot use ing in Spanish the way we use ing in English. Okay. Let me just show you a couple more things about our progressive before I do that. And I'll probably have to do this a little bit more in the next session, but okay. Por ejemplo. Let's look at the way you normally put this together, the way it should sound in a normal sense. Estoy tomando un café con ustedes. I'm having a coffee with you guys. I'm doing this right now. Estoy tomando un café. I can use that, right? If I would just want to say, I have coffee with my friends in general, like all the time, usually part of my habit, then it's plain old tomo un café. But if I'm doing it right now estoy tomando. No podemos hablar. Estamos abordando el avión ahora. Oh, we can't talk. We're getting on the plane right now. And that means it's happening now while I'm on the phone with you. Okay. El hombre está vendiendo tacos. He's got to be doing that while I'm walking by, talking about him. Está vendiendo tacos. Está lloviendo. Está lloviendo. It's raining right now. Okay. I use llueve, the present tense of llover. Llueve, it rains, to talk about what it generally does. Okay. Por ejemplo, en Michigan, en Minnesota, en Wisconsin, llueve mucho en abril. It rains a lot in April. Just to talk about the general condition, right? Está lloviendo means it's happening now. So it's got to be raining right now for me to use está lloviendo. Make sense? See? It's got to be going on right now. You will notice, just para que sepan, just so you know, some verbs do some funny spelling things. They do some funny spelling things. They are only spelling irregularities. They don't affect the way you pronounce the word, not really. Okay, so if you're not writing it down, it doesn't matter so much. But just so you know, when you see it in a subtitle, it will look like this. These EER or AER, which aren't a lot of verbs, there are a few verbs. UIR, those kind of verbs instead of IENDO, because, oh, they're ER and IR verbs. They should be IENDO to do the ing, right? They have a Y. It's a spelling thing. That's all it is, right? So leer becomes leyendo, caer becomes cayendo, construir becomes construyendo, destruir becomes destruyendo. And that's because in general, in Spanish, most of the time, we don't like 3 vowels next to each other. Okay, not a fave thing to do. Not a fave thing to do. Okay, it's a spelling thing. It's not a big thing. Yeah, there are a few endo words which get a funny vowel change in the middle, but not a lot, only a few. So dormir becomes durmiendo. It's not dormiendo, it's durmiendo. Pedir becomes pidiendo, right? Repetir becomes repitiendo. Morir becomes muriendo. Okay, servir becomes sirviendo. These are just technically, para que sepan, so you know, stem changing verbs that are IR, stem changing verbs, meaning it's like hardly any verbs do this. Really small category, but you may hear those forms, okay? So these are not like super common, but they happen. These are not super common, but they happen. Most of them will look like this. Está vendiendo, está lloviendo, estamos abordando, we are boarding, estoy tomando. They'll usually be like that, and they have to be in real time. Bien? Okay?
Sí.
That's about all we can do now, because that estar always, we cannot use ser with present progressive. Can't you? No ser. Can't. Estar goes with present progressive. And we'll pick up with that a little bit next session and talk about how we alter that a little bit and how that changes things. Para que sepan, so you know. I'll send you a couple of stories to listen to in our hiatus time. That makes sense. See? And when I send you the stories, I want you to think about, am I hearing examples of some of those ing words? Am I hearing some examples of those? Am I hearing present progressive? Am I hearing examples of people using ser for descriptions or estar for descriptions? Because they won't be like the whole video does only that, right? It's going to mix in different elements of what you've been using all along. So that you know, para que sepan, so you know, okay? And we're going to kind of pick up with that idea when we start with spring session. I know, or summer session, perdón. I know some of you will be traveling for the summer. Felicitaciones, congratulations if you are able to do that. But some of you will be joining us again for summer. I am going to send out in a separate email, not attached to the recap, but a separate email for those of you who want to do like the harder segments for you to like pick a time. And I'm just going to have to pick a time. So what's going to happen if you decide in summer that you want to do harder stuff, like legitimately harder stuff, you could theoretically double dip, meaning you can come in on this Monday session and then come in on the separate day. And the separate day will be picked when everybody responds back to me, and I'll have to pick a day that's like best for the majority of people. If you don't want to do like harder stuff, that's perfectly cool. Just do the Monday session. But if you want to do only the harder stuff, you might choose to only join the harder group. That's cool too. If you want to do both, yay, I see you twice a week. Depende, ¿sí? ¿Ok? ¿Está bien?
Está bien.
Está bien.
Bien.
Bien, bien.
Gracias.
Fue un placer.
Gracias.
Wow, fue un placer. It was a pleasure. De nada, de nada. I hope to see a lot of you back for summer. I know some of you will be traveling. That's fine. So some of you I'll be seeing just for fall. Como quieras, as you wish. Yeah. Bien.
Eh,
A ver, ¿cuántas?